Rugby World Rankings, folks, for February the 6th, 2023. Six Nations first round is done and dusted. We're going to look at how that has impacted the Rugby World Rankings, plus the possible permutations for the upcoming round. And you guys can let us know your thoughts on how things are looking, fair or not. Ireland is still the number one side in the world, and they actually ever so slightly extended their lead, 90.70 up from 90.63. You don't get much for beating teams quite far below you, and the gap between Wales and Ireland is pretty substantial, so they only gained marginal points, but yes, they have extended their lead. So Ireland remain the top ranked side in the world. France still there at number 2. The gap between them and the Italians was even greater, so they took no points for their away win, narrow as it was, over the Italians. So what that means is, with this upcoming round of the Six Nations, you will see the number 1 and number 2 sides going at it. I think we've seen that before in the Rugby Championship with like the All Blacks against the Box. I don't think we've seen it before with the Six Nations. Not that I can remember, because usually New Zealand's been ranked either number 1 or number 2, but we're not at the moment. So there you go. That makes this weekend's clash ultra spicy. New Zealand and South Africa still 3 and 4, pretty much neck and neck. Obviously, they haven't changed any points because they haven't been playing. Nobody has passed them or dropped below them, so they're not moving. But the main side, which is on the move, and the reason I've got their good-looking jersey on, the Scots are up 2 spots with their away win at Twickenham. So 29-23 over the English sees them jump up from 7th to 5th, from 81.55 to 83.06. The Scots are the highest they've ever been, but it's not the first time they've been 5th. So equal first highest spot ever for the Scots. They're unlikely to gain any spots higher than 5th, just looking at the gap between them and the South Africans, right? 83.06. It may only be 1 spot behind South Africa, but it's 88.97. So it's a fair gap. Yeah, I'm not sure. You'd have to look at the calculations as to whether, if the Scots got a Grand Slam, could they potentially pass South Africa? Possibly, but yeah. The gap for now is still rather substantial. I'm sure the Scots will be mainly focused on getting a win over the Welsh, who they've got this weekend. Before we get to the Welsh, though, England are down a spot, having lost to Scotland, down from 83.66 to 82.15, so they dropped down to 6th. The South Africans, the Australians, have also dropped. They didn't do anything wrong. They just got passed by the Scots. So both those sides down. Argentina is obviously unchanged on 80.72 on this side of the whiteboard. And Wales, with their loss, they did lose very marginal points, down from 78.09 to 78.02 with the loss to the Irish. So, yeah, still 9th spot for Wales. The rest of the board unchanged. 10th and 11th obviously didn't play. Italy were in action in 12th, but didn't drop any points with the loss to France. Georgia, Fiji, Tonga, Spain. Beyond them is Uruguay and Portugal. But yeah, that's how things are looking. Scotland, the kind of main mover and shaker, with England and Australia dropping down spots. Now, how are things looking for this weekend? Well, like I mentioned, Ireland and France are going at it. It's number 1 and number 2 in the world. Ireland can go beyond 91 points if they manage to beat the French, either by 1 to 15 or 16 plus, which is the kind of margin where you earn more points if you win by 16 points or more. So Ireland will gain points if they win, but they will lose the number 1 spot if they lose. So France will certainly take number 1, no matter the margin. And if France were somehow, even though Six Nations games are traditionally pretty close, if France were to win by that extended margin of 16 or more, Ireland would drop as far as 4th. So yeah, there's a fair bit on the line. Not only is it putting yourself in the driver's seat for the Six Nations trophy, number 1 spot in the world is up for grabs. Scotland, like I mentioned, will not rise if they win, but they will certainly take points off Wales. They will drop back down to their previous spot if they lose. Wales will only head up past 9th if they were to go to Murrayfield and win by 16 plus. The smaller margin would not be enough to see them take any further spots, although they will take points. And England, they can take marginal points if they get a win over the Italians, because the gap between them is pretty hefty. Remember, there's always a bit more weighting on the home side, so that makes the gap between them even a bit larger. They will drop to 8th, though, if the Italians manage to get a win. For Italy, they could go up to 10th with a win. Right now, they're kind of sitting neck and neck with their, I want to say rivals, the Georgians. There's not, I don't know if there's I feel like there's a rivalry. It's a genuine rivalry, right? They don't play each other that much for it to be a rivalry, but all the talk about Georgia being that kind of next best team kind of makes it a rivalry. So there you go, folks. That's the rankings and the possible permutations. How do you guys feel they set things up in terms of the fairness of how the teams are currently on form? If you missed any of the Six Nations at the weekend or want to watch the upcoming games and you're outside the free-to-air territories, you can watch with a VPN. You just connect your VPN to a UK broadcaster if you want to watch on ITV or BBC, which are both free, or an Irish broadcaster. You can use Virgin Media or RTE. You just set your VPN to Ireland, easy as, and then jump on. I'll put a link down to ExpressVPN in the description. That's the one that I've been using for many a year now. But yeah, you guys let us know your thoughts. By the way, they do 30-day money-back guarantee and 3 months free on a year subscription. So just good stuff. Happy days. Take care, folks, and I'll talk to you again soon. See you later.